We're here today with Colby Beland. He's Senior Vice President of Sales and Marketing for CaseStack. He's been with them for 7 years. And in terms of the vendor community, he has some good perspective. The Wal-Mart supplier community, I should say, has a good perspective on an issue that OTIF, on time, in full. In January, Wal-Mart issued a directive that said you've got until from now to August.
Right.
And it's August is upon us.
It's here.
To change the way, essentially, your product, if you're a supplier, your product gets to a Wal-Mart store. On time, in full is pretty self-explanatory, but Colby, give us kind of a layman's term summary of what suppliers are facing now that it's August.
Sure. So probably back it up even just a little bit. Since 2010, Wal-Mart has operated under what they called supply chain reliability, which was a 4-day delivery window, delivered within a 90% fill rate and on time to Walmart. And they've operated that way since 2010. A year ago, Y beginning meeting, not this past February, but a year ago February, Walmart announced that they were looking to adjust the MABD windows and go to a new program called On Time in Full. That was a year and a half ago, and the scuttlebutt was, man, they're not going to be able to do this. They can't execute this. Then Walmart reiterated it this year at the Growth Summit that OTIF was real and that it was coming. So the baseline for OTIF for a supplier was established in January. So whatever the supplier's OTIF was, as Walmart measures it, was established in January. And then starting in August, Walmart is going to take that baseline, expect a 10% improvement over what the baseline was from January, with a minimum of 33% for an LTL supplier, less than truckload supplier, and a minimum of 75% for a full truckload supplier. So if your baseline was 20% and you get a 10% improvement, it doesn't get you to 33, then you go to the minimum at 33. So starting right now as we speak, Walmart is now measuring the supplier based upon the OTIF of either a 1-day or 2-day window, depending upon the category that they're in. So food and consumables is subject to a 1-day delivery window at 95%.
For obvious reasons.
And basically, general merchandise is a 2-day window at 95%. So if a supplier fails to comply with the baseline plus 10% or the minimum thresholds, then whatever cases fall outside of that window are going to be subject to a 3% penalty starting this month.
For 3% based on the value of the product.
Right.
So which could be, I mean, if you're selling electronics, that could be a hefty fine, couldn't it?
Electronics, pharmaceuticals, things of that nature.
Well, one of the problems, though, Colby, is that sometimes, especially with smaller suppliers, I may be using Walmart's system. How do I have transparency? How do I know what's going on within the system? Maybe a forklift operator, a Walmart forklift drops part of my pallet. How do I know that as a supplier?
So Walmart has established a OTIF page within Retail Link. So if you go to Retail Link/documents and then go to OTIF, there's an entire section in there on suppliers and the management of OTIF. One of the things that Walmart has developed for OTIF is a scorecard. And within the scorecard is very specific of how a supplier can manage their business, but it actually shows what the supplier is responsible for and what Walmart's responsible for and whose fault. And unlike supply chain reliability or anything in the past, Walmart is actually taking blame, and for the things that Walmart is responsible for, you're not held accountable from a penalty perspective. So it's kind of a new twist that hasn't been in play before, where Walmart is actually spelling out, we were responsible for this, these cases are out, and therefore you may be below the minimum, right, but Walmart's accountable for this, so then you're not. So that scorecard and Retail Link really will tell the supplier and give the supplier insight of how to manage their business. They made it available since February. I mean, the scorecard and all this information has been available since February for the supplier. The interesting thing is how many suppliers
taking advantage of it.
Haven't taken advantage of it and still are just now trying to figure out that I'm getting ready to get fined. And
we're assuming all suppliers have been on. We just had open call earlier. There's going to be new suppliers that are coming on.
Absolutely.
May just have gotten the system a couple months ago.
Correct.
They've got to bone up quickly, right?
Absolutely.
Colby, tell me about, that's just one example. Tell me about some other gaps that may be in the supply chain that CaseStack sees, for example, whether it's using a third-party provider or using Centerpoint, which is Wal-Mart's system.
Well, one of the biggest challenges is for somebody that's shipping LTL, less than truckload, to Walmart. The reason I say that is the way that an LTL carrier delivers to Walmart, they do not schedule the delivery appointment until it arrives at the delivering terminal.
Oh, okay.
So if it's been in transit for 4 days or 5 days or whatever the length of time is, and it gets to the delivering terminal, and the PO due date's tomorrow, and they go to schedule an appointment, and it's not available because with a single day, everybody's basically fighting for appointment time, then there's no way possible for that freight to be delivered on time. And that's probably the biggest challenge that a lot of the smaller to mid-sized suppliers that aren't full truckload suppliers are going to face, is those that are delivering LTL. Just the method in which an LTL carrier operates, it's not set up to comply with a one-day window. Then the other challenge is delivery appointments. And what I mean by that is if you have multiple POs going to Walmart each week as a supplier, that LTL carrier may take, let's just call it Pilot, right? Pilot pins, and say, Pilot has a Type 20 PO and a Type 33 PO. They take the Type 20 and set an appointment in Retail Link, and they don't make the appointment for the 33 PO. So the freight arrives at the Walmart DC, they only have an appointment for the Type 20 PO. They will still receive the Type 30, but since it's not in Retail Link, it can create receiving issues, and that ultimately impacts OTIF because it's on time and in full.
So you have a data function at that point. Not all the data is plugged in.
Exactly.
So, and to that point, one of the things that we follow the trucking industry, and one of the things we hear from industry analysts is that LTL providers are going to start picking up FedEx, ABF freight, are likely to begin picking up more freight just because of the nature of e-commerce, how it's changed the way, how much product is shipped, when it's shipped. Do you see that from your perspective? Do you see more, essentially smaller loads being put in the system, which creates, as you pointed out, that need for better communication?
Absolutely. So the omni-channel is changing everything.
Right.
E-commerce, whether it be Walmart.com or Amazon or whatever is the driving force, the omni-channel is definitely changing. The lines between who is a supplier and who is a retailer have even changed because suppliers are able to deliver direct. But Walmart and basically all mass retailers today are wanting to order more often in smaller quantities.
Right.
And that drives up the cost.
Yeah, and that's an inventory management issue also on
Absolutely.
top of that. Last question, Colby. So this August 1st deadline is now.
It's
on us. Give me some sense of how successful the implementation is going to be. And I don't know how to, is it do you think 100% or 90% or what percentage of suppliers, whether they're using CaseStack or some other third party or using Walmart system, how many do you think are going to be on the ball on this?
Well, they've had 18 months to prepare. So the bigger companies or the more astute companies, they're ready. It's the ones that have had their heads in the sand or just didn't believe.
Or just came on board as a supplier.
Or just coming on board that are going to face the most challenges. Walmart's easing into this. They're not just cramming it down everyone's throat. So in August, the threshold is 33% and 75%. Next year in February, they're going to increase another 10%. And then at some point, Walmart's goal is truly 95%, and you're going to be held accountable to that. As those tighten, it's going to be more and more of a challenge for the suppliers. But by that time, I think the supplier community, the carrier community, and Walmart will have the bugs worked out. And for the most part, we'll be able to execute fairly well. The bottom line is this is a this is a flow incentive at Walmart and how to move products through the DC more efficiently. And if Walmart executes this strategy effectively, everybody wins. The customer, the supplier, and Walmart.
Good. All right, Colby. Thanks for your time.
Yeah.
Good luck with all the suppliers you work with.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Arkansas Electric Cooperative Corporation provides electric energy across 2/3 of Arkansas. This is an exciting time in our energy history, with incredible progress being made in renewable energy and storage technologies. As our energy portfolio continues to diversify, we'll maintain an all-the-above strategy to provide reliable and affordable electricity. Ever since the first light bulbs were placed in our members' homes, the electric cooperatives have been the solutions provider for our members, and we want to continue that well into the future.
Each day, the promise of our nation begins again. Arkansas and America, moving forward. I help make that promise a reality. It's not for everyone, but people everywhere depend on us.
Oh, I love you too, sweetie.
Trucking delivers, or everything stops. And that's what drives me.
I did.
Hello, I'm Michael Tilley. I'm here today with Kim Souza. She's our expert on everything Wal-Mart. She tries to play that off with false modesty, but she probably knows more about Wal-Mart than any other reporter in Arkansas. So that's why we're going to talk about this OTIF issue that is now coming upon the deadline, so to speak. We talked earlier with Colby Beland, who with CaseStack, who sees this issue, and OTF is on time and full. He sees this issue from the supply or from the industry side in terms of delivery, the third party. Talk to me though, from you talk to a lot of suppliers, you talk to supplier consultants. First of all, tell me the purpose, what they see as the purpose of OTIF.
The purpose of OTIF would be Wal-Mart having better control on when the inventory is there. They need it to be on time. If it's early, it garners a storage fee and clutters up the back room. If it's late, it's not on the shelf,
Right.
and that's the bigger problem for Wal-Mart and the suppliers because they miss sales.
Yep, and that's been a focus of both Doug McMillan, the CEO, and Greg Foran, the CEO of Walmart US, is to get it on the shelf. I think we've heard
Absolutely.
Greg at shareholders meeting say, "I can't sell it if
I
it's
don't
not
have
on
it."
a shelf." So that kind of leads to the question. Walmart is pushing this. They had a previous policy, the 4-day window. They announced to suppliers in January that come August, you better have this in place. Well, it's August. So what do you think Walmart is hoping to achieve, other than just the fundamental getting it on the shelf? Do you think they're going to work with suppliers? How are they going to work with suppliers? Give me some insight into how Walmart's going to try to make this successful when other programs in the past weren't successful.
Okay. First of all, when Walmart announced this in January, they did narrow the window from 4 days to 1 day, but they also unleashed a number of tools that are available through the Retail Link portal for suppliers, giving suppliers better detail and clarity into the whole process of shipping. That way, it's easier for suppliers to see where the hiccup was in the system. Walmart also said, we're not going to ding you with a fee if it's our fault. So
Right.
It allows the supplier to determine whose fault it is. And I think suppliers have to be happy that that's available now, but it's still scary for them because there are fees involved. And for some suppliers who rely on Walmart's system, they really don't have control of much of the inventory.
Well, okay, so then let's the larger suppliers, we're not that worried about. You hope that the Procter and Gambles of the world, they've got their act together, but the smaller suppliers, you kind of hit on it there. Tell me what they have to gain or they have to lose possibly through this new system. Because if you're a small mom and pop, you're only sending 1 or 2 pallets out into 1 or 2 distribution centers. How do they play in the mix? Are they going to get squeezed out?
That's a concern. The smaller suppliers are going to rely on the LTL shipping and a consolidation. In most cases, those suppliers also use Walmart's transportation network and the Centerpoint system, which is Walmart's own consolidation system. And they don't have any control. They may not be fined, but they don't have any control, and the time window to get a product through Centerpoint is anywhere from 2 to 7 days. And when you're trying to hit a one-day window, that's difficult. And the end result here is if they don't have product on the shelf, it will not sell, and it cannot sell. And that's going to filter down to the replenishment managers and the buyers who are relying on those product sales for their own paychecks. So when it comes time for line reviews and that supplier has to meet with those buyers are going to look at the scorecards of those suppliers who cannot get their product on the shelf and say, I'm sorry, but we're not going to have space for you next year.
Right.
So they could be squeezed out. That's a concern. The good news is that there are people out there that can help these small suppliers, the consolidators, CaseStack, and other 3PL consolidators that offer visibility in the system. It comes at a cost to those suppliers, and that'll have to be negotiated the next time they go to
And often those suppliers are already giving their lowest price to Walmart. So where do they work the margin? I mean, that's...
Well, when they renegotiate next year, they're going to need to let the retailer know that, it's costing us more now that we can't use your system, and hope Walmart agrees.
You have a great network of supplier consultants. What are you hearing from them? Do they think this is for the most part fair, or will it work? What is their assessment? Because they're in the field working with a wide range of suppliers in terms of size. What are they telling you?
For the most part, they think Walmart's being fair. That doesn't mean that it's still not a concern. One electronics supplier, because it's the fee is 3% of the shipment that's late.
The value of the shipment.
The value of the shipment.
Right.
One electronics supplier that we talked with was routinely getting dinged $100,000 a month for late deliveries. They considered it the cost of doing business with Walmart, but because of these new tools, they were able to work with a consultant and get those fees way, way down, and now their profits are going up.
So speaking of technology, this you've kind of learned talking to some people, this may spur some new technology companies come up with some new solutions. Tell me about one that you've talked to.
Yes, I talked with a startup out of Boston called Tilley, and they have a sensor that's about the size of a small cell phone, and it attaches to the pallets. And it works through the cell phone network, and through an application, it can be as that pallet moves through the supply chain, you can view it on an app on your iPhone or on a desktop. It gives that supplier who's shipping that product total visibility from the time it's picked up at their dock until it's delivered at the store. The cost for that is about $50. It's $50 per sensor. That includes all the software. To give you an example of how that could help a company, say a tomato truck, a full load truckload of tomatoes valued at $100,000, that $5 investment would save them a $3,000 fine.
The $50 investment.
The $15 investment would save them the fine, $3,000 fine.
That would be a big advantage. Do you see people maybe taking advantage of that? Is this a upstart technology? It sounds a lot like Uber. I mean, you can tell exactly where the car is before it gets there.
It's already being used in pharmaceuticals because those have to be tracked very sensitive. Some manufacturers are using it because, as you know, since time management is everything in manufacturing, so they track their raw materials coming in. It hasn't really been applied in retail very much, where the margins are so small. But there is probably an application for it, and the folks at Tilley think there's an application for it, particularly in perishables.
Well, thanks for your time. This is going to be interesting to watch between now, which is August 1st, and January when some of these scores, some of the assessments start taking place. So we'll be on top of this. Thanks.
Yes.